Hello, and welcome back to the Gather Dispatch. No, wrong. Welcome for the first time to the Gather Signal, the spiritual and literal successor to the Gather Dispatch. It has been a while, but we are relaunching with a new format for your beloved Gather podcast. This format is a roundtable. This format is also on video. So if you are listening to this at home, if your RSS feed just fired for the first time in over a year and you're wondering what's happening, you have options this time around. You can continue to listen to us on your favorite podcast catcher, or you can go to gather.co and figure out how to watch us on video.
Probably YouTube.
Yeah, probably. I don't know. We got to figure that part out. But for right now,
It's for the boys in R&D.
Yeah, we're recording a brand new podcast. So here's the thing we're going to do with this. We're going to go around the table. Every month, we're going to bring in your favorite gatherers, our favorite friends, collaborators, clients, pals, and we are going to let you know what we're hearing, what we're seeing, what the signals are in the broad marketplace that is all of the things that we care about: digital media, digital marketing, the greater space of independent work. We're going to let you know how it feels every month, try to synthesize some information, and come out from that experience wiser than we went in. So that's the idea. Joining me today, we have three veterans of the format. To my left, Kirsten Chen.
Hello, hello.
To your left, Michael Terwent.
Hello, everybody.
Thank you for joining us. And then to the final left in the room, Christophe Chemay.
Hello.
And we will go reverse order as we start here. Christophe, I want to hear a signal for what is going on in your world.
I've been thinking a lot about computers and
Heard of
memory
them.
chips, and I think that there's a big awkward tension in the room with everybody that makes chips and sells stuff that the chips do stuff for.
Okay.
It's really important for people to know how to use computers, and industries are essentially pushing compute to data centers, which is everybody's favorite new building type.
Sure.
It's going to be really interesting to see how that changes the marketplace, and I think it's going to create a big opportunity for people to, if they can, build local on computers, because eventually it's going to come back to people doing stuff on their own machines.
Okay.
However, it's been made really hard to do because lots of people just bought up all the microchips to put them in data centers,
Right.
and there's the tension.
Yeah. It is now more expensive than ever to do the thing that might be the thing to do in the moment.
And more importantly,
Okay.
it's really annoying to build a gaming PC now.
Good thing you've already built yours, right? Yeah. Like the PC of Theseus.
PC of Theseus, that's
Yeah,
right.
Constantly.
That being said, I think it also speaks to some bigger things at play, which is a lot of these models are eventually going to go open source, and they're going to get efficient and small enough to be on local machines. So I think it's really important for people to, as much as they can, figure out how to build things in their own environments. Not to be said, like, I love Claude. Claude's amazing. I use Claude all the time. But enshittification is going to come in the form of tokens getting really expensive. And what used to be people bragging about how many tokens they spent in a month in a company, all of a sudden the CFO goes, "What do you mean you spent 2 billion tokens
Right.
Token maxing.
building a chatbot that talks to you like a Gen Alpha person?"
Yeah.
You know, it's when that hits, people are going to get rate limited, and then it's going to be a question of how well and how efficiently you use technology. But if you've got a local, you don't need to worry about that.
Yeah.
It's also safer in a lot of applications.
Right. But like, how many people do? How many people do have a local? I mean, we are working on that here, certainly.
Yep.
But like, I'm not at home yet. Like, should I be?
I think it's the next popular frontier.
Okay.
That is my like totally unsubstantiated vibe check on it.
Yeah.
It's getting easier and easier to do, right? So first OpenClaw came about. Now you've got Hermes, and they're all starting to get graphical front ends on top of them, so you don't have to use a terminal, which is like very intimidating for a lot of people. I think vibe coders get a really bad rap, but vibe coders are curious people trying stuff out.
Sure.
And the vibe coders of today are the messy, lazy developers of tomorrow. And that's the new hero's path. You're either learning by doing, or you are an imposter and you don't know what a markdown file is. I know you don't. Don't pretend like you do. I
I
know.
don't know how to mark down files.
Stop antagonizing our new audience.
Don't be a bully.
This is not
Yeah.
a podcast for markdown shame.
That's right. We should be marking each other up, not down.
All right, that's plenty of that.
That's just for the YouTube shorts. I'm sorry.
Okay, all right. So I believe you, I guess. I think to me, I still fall short on the next step as like an individual doing projects on my own. This is, after all, a collection of independent folks. Like, it feels like I am having to wield an armament of materials that I'm not prepared to wield yet, and I don't know exactly how much ammunition to bring.
I think a lot of people feel like that.
Okay.
And it's almost like, what is it, like Hunger Games, where everyone comes out and there's just weapons strewn about.
Right.
And everyone's in that shock phase where they're like, what do we do?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
which
the
one
first
do I
person to
pick?
get that sword is going to chop somebody's head off,
Yeah.
you know?
Okay. So
That's a little dark.
Unless they
It's
get
going to
an-
not die right away.
that engenders
so better.
optimism, I suppose.
Yes, of course. It was an optimistic analogy.
Okay.
But I think that the whole market's kind of in that layer of shock, and you're starting to see the curious people pop up.
Okay.
And that's where the learning is. That's
Yeah.
where the new skill building is just trying stuff out. And it's never been easier to try a thing out, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think
Yeah.
each of you have tried something, even
Sure.
if it's in your own personal life,
Yeah.
but you learn about AI and how to use it as an unstructured tool that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Claude and I were working on a unified theory of baseball statistics on my plane ride home from Italy. Just me and Claude in 9 hours of trying to figure out.
9
Are you
straight
serious? That's
hours.
incredible. That's
yeah,
awesome.
advanced
Yeah.
analytics in baseball. This was like the thing I was like, I kind of know. Like, I know war. I got as far as war. And then like they started doing more stuff and I kind of stopped watching baseball. And I was like, I'm going to catch up. I'm going to ask a lot of questions. I'm going to find a way to interpret advanced metrics in baseball. Killed a bunch of hours on that. So, what am I arming myself for? I'm not entirely sure, but that was something to try it on.
Well, it's almost the subject matter doesn't really matter. It's the path you go on navigating how this tool helps you parse through thinking and
Yeah.
gobs of data and
Structured data.
exactly.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good sandbox. Like to keep it within the confines of one game, one set of rules. There are established rules, there are established metrics. You can just play, I am a fan of local, right? But I'm also a builder. Like
Yeah.
I love tinkering with shit. That's my natural state. And also to step away from, dependence on the larger systems. Like I've seen people that have these really elaborate builds and then, Claude's down for a day. And that means, boom, productivity's down, the dollars stop ticking. That's mission critical for some, right? So there's a lot of, use case and business case around keeping it local. And I think the forcing function for me is control and like security control and control of your systems and your systemic thinking and your databases and so on. But the question that I have is, that's me. That's cool. Like I'm down to get my hands
Right.
dirty, right? But maybe this is like a soft signal, but I feel like everybody needs to learn how to speak a little bit of computer.
Yeah.
And most people don't. Well, not yet. So
To your point about control too, I've seen kind of a technological equivalent of what a lot of billionaires are doing these days, which is like buying a bunker so they can avoid the end of the world.
Yeah.
A lot of my very, very like tech heavy friends, like on our little nerdy Discord, one of them's like, I just built out an email server. One of them has a media streaming server. They're essentially trying to create their own microcosms of internet because the outer internet is so enshittified and terrible and full of tracky garbage that they're like, even like Discord. Now one of my buddies is trying to like create an open source Discord client because Discord got a little too monetized and enshittified. And there's always this push pull between the need for monetization and what it does to our technological structures, and open source as being the good guy in the room,
Right.
good person in the room, right? And I think open source is going to continue to have its moment. Like, I have never been closer to moving over to a Linux distro, thanks to Windows 11, than now. Like,
I was just at a new school event recently. It was AI trust in the media. And Doy Nguyen, who is one of the New York Times like AI specialists on the team there, he had said something around like the difference with open and closed models for the user is like as a user with a closed model, you're basically like, or any of these platforms that we're typically using, you're abstracting your security problems away. So we're told through advertising that Claude or whatever else is the safest one, and that's a whole different tangent. But theoretically, if you can't see inside the machine, you don't really know. And just because it's their definition of safety, does it adhere to yours? So I think like personal values are cropping up and becoming more significant in the marketplace in that realm.
I mean, this certainly connects to a theme of the last decade, is trying to figure out where we can take some of the platforms that we have taken for granted for a long amount of time and the services that they are providing us, and take some of that activity, that attention back into our own hands and some of the responsibility for it. And to your point, Michael, in order to do that, we're going to have to speak a little bit more computer, generally, like as a culture, than I think we are comfortable doing. Mm-hmm. And this is something that I know is even more difficult for people who are younger than us, at least, statistically speaking, or the journalism supports this, that, a lot of people under the age of, say, I don't know, at this point, like 30 maybe, didn't have to ever run DOS prompt, or have never had to engage with the file structure of their PCs, or have never had machines that they let you fix. So actually don't understand the software or hardware in any intuitive sense. And I'm speaking as someone who doesn't understand it deeply, but at least retain some intuitive sense of it because I did so much troubleshooting and poking around as a kid when you're just trying to get your stuff to work. And I think that is like one of the hills to climb at this point to get back to a place where we might be able to be more in control of our technological present, is that sort of stewardship of technical knowledge.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because it's a diatribe I go on a lot through a generational lens.
Yeah.
I would argue that millennials are one of the most adept generations because they lived through the analog, digital, no internet, mobile, no mobile paradigm shifts.
100% agree. Yeah, as a millennial,
like you knew how to run a command line. You knew like what a dot matrix printer is and the awful sound it makes. You know what the save icon really represents. You had a bunch of floppy disks, and the abstraction of technology into something that you then take for granted has resulted in later generations who are higher users, who are bigger users of the technology, more dependent on technology, but they don't understand how it fundamentally works.
Well, and it's feeding right into Sam Altman, his quote around, we envision the future of intelligence and knowledge like on a meter, which is so dark.
Yeah.
It's so dark because it's a meter of stuff that was taken from our collective knowledge and is being sold back to you. Mm-hmm. And I think that the optimistic counter to that is, vibe coding is essentially the new DOS tinkering on a 286.
Sure.
Like if you've never had a reason to touch a command line and now it'll tell you exactly what Git commands to push,
right?
You're 1,000% more technically proficient than you were 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I think also Excel is a good analog for what's happening in AI, right? Excel was just a spreadsheet program.
Right.
And then people discovered all the mountains of things you could do with Excel, not just as a calculator, but as a data manipulator, as an organizer. And it has fundamentally changed how a lot of people do work outside of just straight up adding and subtracting numbers, right?
Right.
So part of it is, how do we as a people figure out the realm of the possible, right? It's more a systems thinking challenge that we've unlocked, right?
Yeah. I think you're right. It's bringing a tinkerer's mindset to the fore, which is good. That's healthy.
Mm-hmm.
I think it also benefits places like Gather, who sort of naturally engage with that. So I suppose there's some optimism to be found there. I think now is as good a time as any to deliver the Gather promise, the Gather Signal promise that we will never bring any other generation of person other than millennial here, so they cannot defend themselves. We can all say ours is the best one. I know nobody more than 5 years younger or older than me, and I refuse to.
Also,
Agreed.
go get your colonoscopy.
Yeah, it's time, boys.
And we don't have HR, so don't come at us for ageism.
Yeah, that's right.
Simpler times back then.
All right, who wants to go next?
Generation.
Kirsten, do you want to
I
go?
will go next.
All right. What do you got?
Everything we're talking about right now loops back to conversations CJ and I have been having the past few weeks about the enshittification of AI,
Okay.
/ the enshittification of everything. So we've seen it with like delivery apps and with ride shares in the past. You know, when Uber first came out in 2012, I remember going from the Upper West to the East Village for like $12. Now, of course, if you try to get an Uber and God forbid it's raining and you need to go half a mile, it's like $500 and you're firstborn. So you can see that sort of being applied to all of these different LLMs and subscription models, where first you get all of this incentive to capture the market, free passes, whatever. And then once they have you locked in and they have the competition locked out, then they do the same for business users to sell your data to them. And then once they have everybody locked in, they just slowly degrade it. So you have to pay more and more to get the service you initially had for free. So we're seeing that happening, but what's really pissing me off is not only the enshittification of AI, but like the enshittification of our intellectual sovereignty and how we are kind of now molding ourselves around AI. Mike, I'm sure you see it in the writing and content space. We all do. But on that horrid platform that is LinkedIn, it's like every other day I see like, oh, this is an AI tell using an M dash. Tell Emily Dickinson that. She is rolling over
She's
in
the
her
real
grave.
victim here.
Yes, she is, obviously. But yeah, I mean, poets, orators throughout the past, you know, there's that staccato of delivery for it's not this, it's that, and doing things in threes. It's oftentimes when you read writing online, you can tell, okay, this is either bad or it's AI or it's something in between. Whatever. There's just a lot more of it now. But those patterns, AI learned from writers. They learned from orators. They've learned from these patterns that they've been trained on. And what's frustrating to me is seeing so many individuals and writers just jump right in line. And there's like now AI programs that you can ring like text through to check if it's AI or not. What are we doing?
I mean, I've had to build some of those.
Touch grass, people. Like, the AI is telling us who's human or not. I'm getting loud.
Yeah, we are peaking.
He's speaking so hard. I love that you brought it up because I think M dashes are a bit of a victim here. That make a great Atlantic piece.
my
Consider
axe
the
to
humble M dash, but I think it's more that there is a homogenization, an averaging of language, pacing, flow, structure, and format that happens. And that's why it seems uncanny, because it is things that Emily Dickinson has used, but it's in a LinkedIn post, so it's nothing that she wrote. You know what I mean? It's like, it's so averaged out that it's too normalized and there's not enough static in the wavelength. So you know that a computer smoothed that wavelength out. And so now we have to kind of ride this wave of ubiquitous language that has been morphed and changed.
And like intentional spelling errors and weird things to try to seem human.
So there are those, but there's also, I think it also pushes people to do things that do make you human, which is talking about your experiences, saying this happened to me once. You know, I bumped into Bruce Springsteen leaving couples therapy out of my parents' building. That's a true story. For example, right? You have to pull from your your lived experience to prove that you're a human now, which is not a bad thing, I guess. I mean, it's nice when your stuff looks better than the slop.
Okay,
Yeah.
2 things. I just want to say. One, I took a kickboxing class with Bruce Springsteen once. And 2, another important thing that I'm now forgetting because I'm thinking of the kickboxing class. Say what you're saying.
About Bruce Springsteen?
No, not about the Bruce Springsteen tangent.
Oh, the homogenization of language and how it's like too normalized, and so that's how you can tell that it's.
Oh yeah, but like then people use their personal experiences on LinkedIn in crazy ways. Like I backed out of the driveway this morning and ran over my cat. Here's what it taught me about B2B sales. So there's something very strange in like people trying to be human and they're making themselves like robotic maniacs.
Well, first of all, shout out to LinkedIn Lunatics subreddit
Yes,
because it's
the
delightful.
best.
AI didn't create bad writing,
No,
but
we're bad people.
I think we talked about this
platform
last time. It
then.
didn't create bad writing, but it proliferated it.
Yeah, it's
Right.
amplified it.
The slop cannon.
Yeah, the slop cannon, yeah. And LinkedIn is a particular beast. Like, it's like a prism, right? Not a prism, not a prison.
And a prison.
Both, right? But yeah, it's kind of got the best of the worst in a way. The best of the worst.
Yeah.
I'd say it's the best and the worst. Like I love LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn because if you put good content on LinkedIn, it looks so much better because there's so much garbage on there.
It's also the only platform that works. It's the only platform that does what it says on the tin.
That's true.
Yeah.
A bunch of
That's true.
people yapping about work and trying to get an angle on you. And it's the best place to do that. And it has the best tools for doing that. And every other platform is just the everything machine right now. And it's
Yeah.
failing at almost all of it.
And LinkedIn's trying to be an everything machine, but it's failing so quietly at it that nobody even like, oh yeah, Mike Terwent played Connect 4 on LinkedIn. Don't you want to do that too? No, I don't want to play Connect 4 on LinkedIn. But it's the only place I spend ad dollars for myself and clients because it is by far the most accurate, targetable thing. And it's the best place to spend a little bit of money to get your content in front of the people who actually should see it.
Yeah, there's a reasonable chance. There's a meaningful chance. I would say there's the maximal chance that you are encountering this podcast on LinkedIn. There are some clients for whom I have made the suggestion that LinkedIn is the destination of their podcast program, and they almost don't even need to publish it on the other side of this. That some shows are just a collection of clips that are engaged with, and the source material for that show is almost without meaning at this point. And so, if you're on LinkedIn right now, hi.
Hello.
Go to sleep.
I just wanted to give CJ
I know
another
it's
chance
midnight.
to cheat to camera.
Smash that like and subscribe.
Yeah.
Endorse me.
All right, Mr. Tournament, what do you have for your signal?
I've been thinking about this idea, I think, as long as I've been playing with computers. And it's that computers seem to, they excel at certain tasks. And humans excel at the seemingly opposite collection of tasks. So, for example, we humans are artistic and creative, and we do wild, unpredictable shit. And we're really good at, our minds are actually really good at like very, very broad pattern recognition, things like that. Those things have to be programmed into a computer if they want to stand a chance, and it's very, very difficult. What computers excel at, though, is very discrete tasks, repetitive, rote types of tasks, computation, mathematics, right? And so I've always thought, well, what if we just kind of had the best of both worlds coming together? And that's my optimistic signal around how to confront all of this, because the other side of the pendulum swing is that AI is straight up eating my job. And I don't know if I'm gonna, like, marketing the way I know it and love it in 2 years' time could be a very, very, very different world. So I think what is most likely is probably a mix of both. And I'm choosing to lean into the optimistic side of, okay, we have this cool new tool. Let's not get too excited. Like, it does some nifty tricks, but at the end of the day, it's still just a tool. How can we make that supplement what we naturally do and get the best of both worlds? The best out of human creativity and the best out of computational support.
A measured, optimistic take from Mike coming through.
Imagine that.
Always.
It's very enlightened, but it's true. I think, I think a lot of the work I do around enabling teams with AI is about using AI to get the drudgery out of the way. If you're a writer working a enterprise writing job, a ton of your time is spent not writing. It's spent in meetings and going through Airtables and editing how many bullet points were in a paragraph because it doesn't align to the brand standards, or sentence casing, or whatever. All that stuff is stuff that a bot can do to just get the drudgery, get the existential sludge out of the way so that you can keep doing the human work that you do best. Now, the problem is that might be the right take. That might be the Gather-sided right take. There's a lot of people that are not going to take that position, and there's going to be a lot of lemmings going off the cliff because they thought they could fire an entire marketing department and equip some rando with a chatbot and hope for the best. And a lot of companies and brands are going to suffer from that. But then there's going to be other companies that go, wait, because everybody is so wary of AI, that means they care about humans reaching out to them, and they care about shared experience, and they care about analog experiences. And I'm seeing that. And that's where marketing and sales enablement go. Marketing's not going to be billboard ads. That's not going to be the vibe anymore. It's going to be, hey, Mike, we talked last week. Last time we talked, you were really worried about X topic. Well, I have a PhD in my company who just wrote a really thoughtful essay about it, and I thought of you. Let's grab coffee.
Yeah.
That's the new thing is personal touch, not cold call slop.
Yeah.
Doing stuff in person.
And I
Proof
think
of
that,
life.
yeah, exactly.
Proof of life marketing.
Yeah. Yeah. Keep the human in the loop for sure. And I'd offer that was kind of always the case in a way, like there's a lot of, like it's just coming back to the human connection and relationships, and like that's an analog thing. I don't know how to hack that or rush that, or there's no shortcut. You can organize and have a pipeline of people that you want to stay in touch with and things like that, but you can't rush slotting in your offering into someone's life amongst the myriad influences and factors that they need to fold into their decision-making process, especially at the the enterprise realm where we operate. So what do? You just got to hang out and be patient and be human.
In a lot of ways, I think sort of the history of marketing, as long as I've been in or adjacent to the industry, so I guess the last 20 years, I've noticed this, and I'm sure it's happened forever, is this sort of bungeeing away from and back to the center of actually doing a good job. And the good job has been the same the entire time. It's like, know what people want, know how to communicate with them, and actually give them things that they like. And it's easy to get blindsided by shiny, interesting, different ways to forget how to do that while you're practicing some new craft or figuring out some new way to talk to people or trying to get the mechanics of that down. And then ultimately, you sit down in environments like this, and what do people always say? Well, you got to know your customer. You got to get back to the human touch and all these things. And I think that's like forever true, and certainly is clouded by different challenges at the moment. But ultimately, that's why, you hire people who are good at this. That's why, like, the decision-making, the judgment is going to be sort of the pinnacle source of interaction at this point. And I think, I don't have to give a signal, by the way. You three have done your job. You've given a signal.
You can, though,
But
if
I'm
you
going
want
to give a
Okay,
signal,
good.
so don't get used to this. My signal is judgment fatigue. Not only is there the fatigue in trying to suss out the authorship of things you are running into and encountering, just like in the digital marketplace, there's also a fatigue of work product, I've noticed, because it is so easy now for somebody to take an idea and then give me 6 pages of that idea, as Claude will just... One of the things Claude is the best at is take a 3-paragraph idea and make that a 3-page idea. And sometimes that's nice, and sometimes it's not. And so, like, what you are doing when you are passing to somebody who needs a deliverable from you 3 pages of a 3-paragraph idea is you're saying, here, you render judgment on this. And then I have to sit there and read 3 pages instead of 3 paragraphs and whittle it down to what's actually important. And I think the fatigue of that is just starting to set in as these tools are in everybody's hands, and as it is now more, it is less frowned upon to deliver things that are sort of obviously AI integrated, even if they're telling you that they are or they aren't or whatever. And so just the volume of work material you have to deal with and the amount of judgment that you have to apply to whittle through all of this stuff, and to still figure out its genuine authorship, even with the person who is presenting it to you. Not like they're plagiarizing it, but like, how much of this do they really believe? How much of this do they think is actually the point? How much of this do they want me to care about? Which is part of the job of like honing something and presenting it to somebody. It's not just here's all the information. It's here's where I need you to look at it, and here's where I have rendered some judgment to whittle this down for you. And I think we are getting away from that largely. I think you kind of have to get around the other side and realize that that is part of your job working with these agents, is you have to do the first pass of 3 pages down to 3 paragraphs for me, or you're just asking me to do more work every time you're giving me your better work because it's been aided and bloated by this process. I just think there's just too much documentation right now. There are too many things to weed through. And so the job of people who do have to basically be in judgment roles rather than like, bulk processing or producing roles is getting like pretty heavy right now. So that is my signal. Again, I don't have to do this. I do this out of the kindness of my heart.
So generous.
Jason, have you thought about creating a bot that can do that judgment work for you?
Go on. Can I?
Well, look, I
make
actually
it
think this is
locally?
going to happen. And we used to joke
Yeah.
about this, but it's essentially like we have people using AI to write stuff for other AIs to read
Yeah.
for you. And
Yeah.
it almost turns into a WALL-E, like the movie WALL-E.
yeah.
Don't sue me, Disney, but it's like the WALL-E
Yeah, yeah.
thing where like the robots are doing everything of the human existence except for like lounging around and eating and doom scrolling.
Yeah.
And I feel like at some point AI's like your prompt for an AI, your build is just fencing against mine.
Yeah.
And that's actually, I don't know, that's kind of cool in a sci-fi way, but also
Can be.
incredibly
kind of Matrix-y.
dystopian.
Yeah.
It's bots against bots.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
bots
the-
policing bots or programs policing.
Or to stand.
That's
if you want to
why
go JoJo with it. But
Yeah.
yeah.
I called my agent Hugo in honor of Hugo Weaving for his stellar performance
I
of
called
Agent
mine-
Smith because he's going to police a bunch of shit.
There you go.
I call
There you
mine
go.
Gladys.
So the other thing I did on my 9-hour flight is I watched WALL-E.
Yes.
WALL-E was on the
get
plane. And you know what I didn't remember about WALL-E? It's a very pro-social, pro-human movie.
It's a
big
total
time.
humanist
So like
movie.
every time a human gets like disconnected from their sort of somatic satiation chamber,
The
they're-
chair thing.
Yeah, the chair thing.
Yeah.
They're always like nice and cool and rad, and they want to help and they like each other. I'd forgotten that. I could because like the salient image, one of the salient images of the movie is the slothful chair-ridden people, and so my memory at least took that as like, this is human nature. We want all of our comforts delivered to us, and this is there, but for the grace of God, we would all end up there, and we want to end up there. The movie is actually making a case that like we don't really want to end up there, and given a chance, most people want to like be pro-social and not have their needs immediately met that way.
Yeah.
And so maybe there's some optimism in WALL-E to be had in thinking about now that we have devices that are delivering more and more of our needs in this way. A lot of the friction that they are encountering is pro-social, pro-human resistance on the part of the users.
People want to be alive. They want to feel alive.
Yeah. Oh, well, look, I think being humanistic and using that as a core tenet of how you approach using technology is really important, because lots of people, lots of investor-facing people like to say that AI is here to just reduce human workforce costs, make things more efficient, magically sell more things. But like we talked about a bit before, there is a collective benefit to many applications of AI if you start from that perspective. If you start with empathy and listening and trying to use it to get ugly, bad, annoying, low-value stuff
Right.
out of the way, it's incredible.
Right.
But if you're using it to pretend like a human is talking to you,
Yeah.
and really it's just trying to make it harder for you to file an insurance claim,
Yeah.
that's the drugs of society, right? So I think, I don't know, I'm really curious to see where it goes, because it goes back to the closed and open question. Closed models, you don't know what they're being trained to push you towards decision-wise, right? And to your enshittification point, there's like different flavors of enshittification, right? One is just thing gets more expensive after we got you dependent on it,
Right.
like a drug dealer. Cool. But the other kind of enshittification is one where you drag the experience, right? It's like degradation of UX, like suffering. It's like your optimal experience is being held hostage behind a
Well,
paywall.
it's any old iPhone. operating
Sure.
system after a certain amount of time.
Yeah, or just any paid versus free model where free is like you have to jump through all the hoops. So you want to see all that data? You got to pay us, right? You want to read this whole article? You got to pay us. And you can't do that when your entire technology's value prop is that it's going to make everything more efficient.
Right.
And that's going to come to a head. And that's the really nutso part, because there is a tipping point where tokens cost more than a human.
Right. Also, like efficiency of what and for what. Like you can make a lot
KPIs,
of
man.
poor decisions very efficiently
Yeah.
for outcomes you don't understand. All right, we have a format we need to do right now.
Yes.
Okay.
And so here's the other thing. We're going to do something called the synthesis. See? We know what we're doing on this program right now. We have our signals in. We're already doing some synthesis. We're jumping the gun a little bit, but we're impetuous kids, us millennials. So now we're going to do the synthesis. We're going to go around. Everyone just deliver a sentence or two. What was your signal? And then we're going to do the good human work of synthesizing them into some understanding of this month. So who wants to go first? Who feels like they've got a summary loaded?
Okay. So I think my signal was that AI is an opportunity for us to realize the best of both worlds, the best of humanity and the best of computational support in one.
It's more important than ever to tinker, experiment, open source, local buzzwords.
Perfect.
Historically, humans have been the most annoying. Now, AI is the most annoying, and humans on AI are the worst. So, enshittification of AI, enshittification of everything. Think for yourself.
Okay.
For your mind.
Real man.
It's the Matrix.
Oh man, I do love how much CJ is committing to the cheats to camera here.
I'm just trying, man. Come on.
They're real good. All right, so
Going for the
and
He's
go
a
next.
natural.
yeah, and go next. Before we send everyone home, like we got to synthesize these things. Like, what does this mean? That like this is what's pressing our mind right now.
Humanity is the peak signal.
Ah, there we go.
I think it's everyone get together in real life with some computers and figure some shit out.
I guess it's that. I mean, for me, ultimately, what I'm taking away is that you got to work with somebody, and you're buying something. And if everyone is coming to you with a similar set of tools in their hands, you're buying the same thing. Ultimately, what differentiates what you're going to be buying is what's on the other side of those tools. The reasons they're being put into play, the judgment that is being applied to them. And so that is like the difficult work of trying to figure out who you are going to work with and why, is you are now judging less their tool capabilities and more the human capabilities of how they're going to wield them. Because everyone's going to walk into your office with Claude or their programs of choice and say they can do a lot of AI-enabled things for you. And sure, they can. But like, are they going to force you to do the judgment work of honing that into something that's useful, or are they able to do that? Are they able to put the human signals on the other side of that work so that there's actually an outcome that you need and not just an amount of paperwork that shows that work and churn has been done? And then ultimately, I think the other part of that is, are they conversant enough to be building their own tools? Are they building locally? Are they coming to you with something out of the box from, Anthropic or anywhere else and just saying, we know how to use this and like, let's hang out with you? Or do they have a toolkit that they're assembling that they know fits the problems you have? And so, ultimately we're bungeeing back to the center we're always bungeeing back to. Are they like reasonable, intuitive, empathetic people who can understand a problem, business or otherwise, and apply the correct tools to it? But also we're adding a bit of like technical lexicon. We're adding a bit of a tinkerer's mindset. And, how conversant are they with these tools? What are they building? What are they interested in? And can you get something outside of the box from them you won't get elsewhere?
Not to plug something, but I would like to plug something because I think it's a good distillation of that. So in this spirit of tinkering,
Yeah.
also I think that people's GitHub repos are going to be the new MySpace page. That's my medium rotate.
Yeah.
They're back.
I built a skill in Claude for Claude.
Yeah.
I posted it on a GitHub repo from Gather. I will be sharing it on LinkedIn. It's called Retrobot. And Retrobot, I think, is a good example of this because it is essentially the agile retrospective that agile development teams do after every 2 weeks. So for those at home who don't know what a retrospective is, when you work in agile, which is a way of like 2-week bunched sprints of work, at the end of the 2 weeks, you get together and everyone goes, put up on a board what worked well, what didn't work well, and what would we do differently the next time around. And so it's like an iterative improvement cycle based on shared feedback, shared understanding, kind of Socratic method, and everyone getting on the same page of how they can make it better. I codify that into a skill so that at the end of a little work stream where you wrestled with Claude to have it put out a spreadsheet or something, you tell it to run a retro, it goes first. And because it goes first, it can't just agree with everything you told it was wrong. So you get rid of the sycophancy and you're able to kind of engage in this humanistic feedback loop that then improves the flow throughout the entire stack. And to your point, how people package these frameworks and patterns that have worked well for us as humans into technology so that it continues to improve the technology, I think that's a big opportunity.
Yeah.
So thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have tooled around with RetroBot before. It's pretty rad.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. So, and it also works for things like advanced metrics in baseball. Turns out.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a perfect example of thinking a bit more like a computer, right? Because people suck at like putting the bookend on things. I think like we're all, maybe this is myself.
No, it's all right. That's what I'm like, format this for me.
Yeah. So having like outsourcing that, basically saying, okay, like we will do the work of like showing up and like do the meeting and like we'll churn through all of the bits and pieces to make the output, the work product. But have the computer track the notes and give me meeting notes and minutes and things like that, and like encapsulate and like capture the key learnings to like fold into the next round and iterate. That's like the peak experience.
Input methods also matter too. Like I'm a big fan of just walking in circles and doing speech to text and just
looking like a crazy person?
Just narrating complete screeds and manifestos and shoving that into Claude, because that is you at your most authentic voice. You're not thinking about what to type. And it's a great way to also capture your voice. Also, shout out to Handy. Hold on. It's an open source transcription tool. It's free and it's better than Whisper. Thank me later. Yeah, I don't know. It's good.
Deal. Well, next time we're all together, we can combat the idea that your most authentic voice is extemporaneous and not written, but that is a long subject for a different time.
That'll be cool.
We got to go back to like Socrates for this argument. It takes a long time.
Yeah.
But for now, I think we figured out this month, right? I think
Good stuff, guys.
I think so.
the gather signal worked. This is good. We're good at it. I'm going to cheat to camera now one last time and say thank you for joining
Party
us.
on, Wayne.
Nixon 5.
Nixon 5.
Yeah.
And see y'all next month.
Sweet. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.